So what I'd like to do now is, in order for us to start changing and shifting ourselves as empaths, I want us to understand, what is it that holds you back? What is it that holds you back? What is it that keeps you trapped in that state of being overly sensitive? And so let's look at some of these, and how would you answer these questions, with a yes or with a no? And this is really about taking care of your own ego and inflating your own energy. Do you say things that you don't mean when you're around certain people just to fit in? Because when you're doing that, you're actually repressing who you are. You feel that you're less valuable than the people around you. Do you keep your thoughts to yourself when you're in a group conversation? Again, you think that your thoughts and your opinions are less valuable than everyone else's. Do you blurt out your answer and then immediately retract it by saying that you're just joking, or that you didn't mean it, or apologize for saying it? Again, this comes from really believing that what you have to say is not valuable and doesn't contribute. And do you hide in the corner at a party? Do you have questions that you're just too afraid to ask anyone, where you think, oh, that's probably a dumb question? Do you want to talk to people but are terrified to step forward? Again, because you think other people are more important than you. Do you find yourself needing to go home early from events where there are a lot of people because you just don't want to be around so many people? And do you decline invitations because you just can't handle the idea of being out amongst others? Empaths tend to do that. You feel awkward amongst others, and you feel that maybe you have less to contribute, or you just feel shy or awkward. There are some empaths that are extroverted, but for the most part, many are introverted. So if you actually answered yes, mostly yes, then you're an empath that lives in the shadows, and you might need some practice at being a more confident empath. And what this means, it means actually accelerating your ego, raising your ego, and knowing that it's okay to actually embrace your ego. It's okay to be an empath and have a big ego. In fact, it's desired, because empaths with big egos are the ones who can go on to have successful, conscious businesses. You know, we don't want empaths to always be struggling and broke. We want empaths to have money and be successful, because they're the ones who will then go on and make the world a better place. We want that. But we live in a structure that actually supports narcissists doing that, but it doesn't support empaths doing that. So if you actually answered no to some of the questions, then you still probably need to learn how to be an empowered empath. And if you answered no to all of them, then you're perhaps an empath that's confident, empowered, and self-sufficient, or you're not an empath at all, which is also okay. But I'm sure it's not the case for anyone here who's tuned into this, because if you've come this far, then you're definitely an empath. People who are empowered empaths actually are people who make very good healthcare workers, because when you are less empowered as a healthcare worker, you're attracted to it. You're very good to the people that you care for. You're very good caregiver. You're very good to the people you care for, but it's detrimental to yourself. But when you become empowered and you allow yourself to have a bigger ego, you become a better healthcare worker, because you end up being really good at taking care of your own health and your own well-being, which is so important, because we want you to be healthy and well while you're here. Every single one of us actually has a purpose, a reason for being here. We all do. And the only way that you can tune in to your own purpose and your own empath nature, and also fine-tune your ego nature, is by quietening the voices outside and tuning in to the voices inside. We're bombarded, with the news and with social media and mainstream media 24/7. So I always invite people to actually quieten the outside voices and listen to your inner voice. Empaths get lost because we are always giving more attention and more value to the voices inside of us. The reason why it's really important for you to actually expand your ego and learn to love yourself more is because the more you love yourself, the more you actually trust your own intuition and your own inner voice. The more you love yourself, the more you allow yourself to expand your ego in a more loving way. And I'm actually going to give you an exercise further down that will help you to expand your ego. Because a different way, another way of thinking of an expanded ego is an expanded energy. It's an expanded energy. So let's talk a little bit more about how we got our empath nature, or how our empath nature was impacted as we grew up. Most of us who are really strong empaths were born with that. We were born with the nature to really, truly feel what everyone is feeling. But I actually believe that for even the people who have less dominant empathic nature, they were probably born with more of an empath nature, and somehow life chipped some of it away. And even people who have an empath nature, life could have traumatized them because of their empath nature. And I think that empaths are more vulnerable and susceptible to things like I believe I was, into getting ill. One of the things that I strongly believed after I came back from the near-death experience was that some people, like in my case, I repressed all my frustrations. I repressed who I was. And so it showed up as cancer in my body. But for a different type of person, someone with a different nature, it could have showed up as violence. They could have taken it out on someone and committed crimes or hurt people, and they could end up in jail. In other words, the person sitting in a prison cell may be no different from me, but they just acted out their trauma from their empath nature very differently from the way I did. So it can show itself in very different ways. And so I like to look back to see, how did I get my empath nature? And that's what I invite you to do as well, is to look at your childhood, look back at the years that you were growing up. What was your marinade? How did it shape you? And as I mentioned for myself, it was growing up in a culture where I was devalued as a woman. In fact, I once had a process done on me where we went back, it's kind of like equivalent to a hypnotic or a hypnotherapy process, where you go back to the time you were born, or you go back to see when the trauma started. And for me, it was from the time I was born. And it seems that my dad was disappointed from the moment I was born because I was a girl. What has surprised me, though, is when I have shared that, the number of people that have come forward and said, yes, it's the same in my family too. Yes, it's the same. My parents were disappointed. So my dad didn't even come to the hospital when he heard that I was a girl. He was disappointed. So it really started from there, where you know that at a subconscious level, you know that you're already a disappointment. No matter what you do, it's not going to be enough. You start out life as I'm not enough. I'm a disappointment. But when I died, when I went to the other side and I left my physical body, and as I said earlier, I also left behind my culture. I left behind the belief systems, the trauma. I left everything behind, all the traumas that accumulated throughout my life. I had left everything behind. And the only thing that was left was my pure consciousness, which is my soul, which is who I truly am. And from that perspective, in that state, I realized that I was incredibly powerful. I had always lived, and I always live, and I always will. And it was like such an incredible feeling. And it was that feeling that I had to bring forward with me into this physical life. I had to leave behind that trauma, the baggage, the culture, the beliefs, and everything I had been carrying that had led to me getting sick. And I had to keep remembering that who I am is a pure and powerful soul, as is everybody. And we're very powerful. Our physical body is insignificant compared to who we truly are. And so I realized that the journey isn't about learning. It's actually about unlearning. It's about letting go of who we are not. So the journey for an empath, it isn't about going about and learning like, okay, how can I be more impactful? How can I be a different kind of empath? How can I change myself? How can I be better? Because as an empath, chances are one of your interests is spiritual pursuit and self-help. You're constantly doing that already. You're like, everything is about, how can I do more? How can I be more? How can I change more? What can I study next? No, your journey is the opposite. Your journey is about letting go of everything so that you can be yourself, so that your spirit can shine. It's about letting go of the past trauma, the past beliefs. It's not about doing more. It's about leaving behind and letting go of everything you're doing. It's about letting go of the layers, letting go of all the things that your culture and your upbringing and your background has shrouded you in. I'm reminded of a quote from Michelangelo, you know, the famous sculptor Michelangelo, who used to carve these beautiful statues of angels from marble and rocks, just huge, beautiful statues. And he never even used to use plans or drawings or architecture. He would just carve, chip away, chip away. And somebody once said to him, how do you do that without any plans or anything? You carve out these amazing statues of angels that are perfect, just so perfect and chiseled. And he said, that's because the angel is already there in this rock. I just chip away at what's not part of the angel, and I set the angel free. And that's what you all are. Every single one of you. You are an angel that's looking to be set free. So it's about chipping away and dropping everything that's not you and allowing your true self and your true purpose to just shine through and know that it is actually perfect. It doesn't need improvement. It doesn't need work. That's what it is. That's what it means. I want to leave you with a meditation of which I'm going to read out to you. And it's important for you to be in the present moment and also to call yourself out when you notice yourself being afraid or ashamed of being who you are. Call yourself out in a kind way, though. Don't beat yourself up. And let go of shame and worry and so on. And so let's look at this meditation together. You can actually keep a copy of it and even read it to yourself, like every day or every evening or in the morning, and read to yourself that I see my sensitivity as my strength and superpower. It's a part of who I am. I love and accept myself for who I am. I no longer need anyone else's approval to accept me or my sensitive nature. I no longer forsake myself nor beat myself up for being a sensitive soul. My sensitivity serves a purpose. My soul chose me to experience this for a reason. Sensitivity is a rare gem and I feel privileged to have it. It's a gift. Your sensitivity, your empath nature, it's a gift. And not everyone is blessed to have it. And the people who are sensitive, people who are empaths, you're actually the people of the future. You're actually the people who will take this civilization to the next level. The level where we will be able to empathize with each other and intuit each other. You're the ones that will be able to take it to the next level where we can begin to actually realize that spending our money on feeding the population is far more important than spending our money on killing each other. You're actually the people that will realize that love is much more powerful at keeping us safe than our weapons or guns. You're the ones that will actually be the ones that need to teach people this and show people by example. So that's why you're the gift and you're the people of the future. And that's why it's important for you to really expand your energy, be out there, be an influencer, and don't be afraid to speak your truth.